So first on the agenda will go as it's posted, the quarry and asphalt plant traffic options. I know Bill has some updates from what he knows about that, but Evan and Paul, thank you very much for being here. I know we don't always have the chance to have you on, but who would have any updates to the quarry and asphalt as it currently stands?
Probably at this point, either Paul or Virginia, until Bill joins us.
I can give you a quick update. I don't know what information Bill might have that I may not be aware of, but we're scheduled to have an update at Monday night's Select Board meeting on this issue, where we're sort of looking at all the issues regarding Ledge Road. But in terms of the access road, there's really not a lot to report. The critical things with the access road onto Route 40 are the easement from the state, and two, the access to the state easement across privately owned property. And neither of those two issues has been resolved at this point in time. It's difficult in the legislative cycle to get much attention from our legislative delegation, because they had a very busy month of July where they finished their bulk of their legislative action for the year. And then August, they basically recessed. And now we're sort of into this election cycle for fall town meeting. So we still need the assistance of Representative Golden and the other members of our delegation to secure the easement and perhaps funding. The transportation bond bill has not been resolved by the legislature, and I believe Representative Golden had earmarked some funds in there towards this effort, but yet it wasn't included in the Senate version. And again, they haven't brought out a final bill for enactment, and at this point, there's no clear timetable when that may happen, because they've basically extended themselves to the end of the calendar year, which to resolve these unresolved matters, and some of them purposely wait until after the November election. And some of them are controversial, like the police reform one, which just gets bogged down. So really not much to report from the state in terms of the easement or financing. And then again, not much on the private property owner, because some of you may recall from the discussions on that, there was a question of, what the zoning may be in terms of, what would entice the property owner to donate or provide access across the privately owned property, and that hasn't been resolved either. So again, I'm not aware if Bill has additional information that I'm not aware of, but that's basically where things stand at this point, is not a lot of movement on those two critical issues, which is sort of directly outside of the town's control at this point in time.
And Paul, if I may, I would just add that when we said that the select board was going to start looking again at these different traffic options, for traffic mitigation options, there are 3 other things that have been in play at one time or another. So the idea was that instead of like reviewing them as they pop up, we just kind of reset and say, let's look at all of these in total, and see if it makes sense to maybe push another along in parallel instead of putting, all our eggs in one basket. The other 3 were the bus turnaround that the town meeting voted in favor of, and Paul was going to give a status on that. And then the utility pole at the intersection of Ledge and Dunstable, and whether it would make sense to look at moving that so that trucks could turn left instead of right. That's not going to do much to help Ledge Road, but it may help alleviate some of the truck traffic in other parts of town. And then the 4th area was an executive session topic, but I believe we're going to also kind of recalibrate on that as well.
Yeah, and then the other one was the sidewalks along.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Sidewalks. So, so again,
so there's 5 then.
Yeah.
So I'm getting an update. Bill was on the invite, or at least it was the name. He never got it, believe it or not. But I know we had other emails, so there was an issue there, and he's now got a conflict. So I'll follow up with him, and obviously he's passionate about that, and we'll get more, whatever is needed to help things move along. I appreciate those updates. There were certain times, and he made mention, I don't know how many people here have seen the kind of traffic, but just because everybody's timing is different with lack of commuting and traveling as much, I've noticed a few more trucks over there too. So anything we can do to work through this is appreciated by everybody. I know that. So thank you very much. So the update on the Varney renovations, I'll take that one because I've been working closely with Steve Callahan, and he's been updating me on the updates there. And it's a long process. Things were delayed because of the situation we were in with COVID, but then they finally broke ground. I believe it was like in July, at a level off the area and break down the old tennis courts, and then re-grade the whole area. And then I get some phone calls that somebody drove on the work, so then he put the police tape up to keep people out. But it looks really nice, the tennis court and pickleball court, and it's been paved. The fences are there, and it's been painted and lined. The only thing that needs to be done, and it was delayed because of the heat, is that the posts need to be then put in place for the nets to be put up. And that same day, they'll spray out some hydro seed, and that got delayed because it was so hot for the 2-week stretch the hydro seed wouldn't have taken. So I'll follow up with Steve, but I'm sure he's all over that to get them out to finish that once and for all. And hopefully they'll get some play out of it, before it starts to get a little too cold and the weather starts hitting. So, but has everybody here been down there to see some of the progress in your walks around town and the neighborhood? It looks very nice. One thing I want to add to that is, a lot of the select board and Paul and you folks realize that we also want to make sure the next stage, being the parking, is a certain way, and Steve knows what the neighbors would like to incorporate facing the field. And I had mentioned it before, and Paul, you kind of echoed if we can do that, to also incorporate the work on Varney Ave. But with this situation that the town's up against with COVID and things being delayed and projects being impacted, none of that work is really scheduled yet, and we're in a wait and see, according to Steve Yanley. But I don't know if you guys have any idea on what the expectation could be for that. I know that's a DPW question, but do you know how far out some of the road work and other things get impacted like that?
My sense is some of it's weather dependent. Unfortunately, we've had good weather to do road work and projects, but I think at a minimum we want to get the parking resolved by the fall, and hopefully do the paving at the same time.
Right.
So it may be something that's late season. The plant will stay open until November, so we probably have about 2 months left. But I think it may be one of the season type of projects. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll send another follow-up to him to keep it on the radar and copy everybody here on the committee and you folks as well, and keep that hot, and anything you can influence, just make sure they understand what the intention is there. I'm just hoping it's best cost, because if the trucks are out there paving and the road certainly needs to be fixed as well, that it would make the whole area nice and fluid. So. But other than that, the courts are looking good, and then on to the next stage would be those two things and whatever is next down the road. Is there any update on the trees? Does anybody have any input or feedback on that? I know we were kind of really on the fence on what to do on that the last time we met.
So there's been really no progress since the last time we met, but that's not a bad thing. Essentially, due to COVID, MassDOT has been doing kind of their primary work and not really addressing discretionary work. So as you recall, the town meeting did approve $10,000. That's still in the account. I will circle back with Hancock Associates to advance the next stage. I also wanted to wait for the tree committee to reconvene. So primarily the pause is primarily due to COVID, but I think this is something that we should be able to advance during the winter months with the goal of applying to, or making decisions internally and applying to MassDOT sometime in late winter, early spring with a plan of installing some trees next growing season.
We have to figure out where they go.
Yeah, well, if you recall,
That was
the Hancock study did identify at grade and below grade locations. So I think that work has kind of done. It's pretty straightforward. I think the committee's work, along with the community and other stakeholders, including the tree committee, is to figure out how much it would cost to put subsurface trees planted into the ground, reminding everyone that that would require removal of existing concrete and asphalt. So it's a bit more costly, but that certainly appears to be the preferred option. So that's kind of an internal exercise that I can do again with Hancock and the tree committee and report back to this committee.
Okay. Does anybody have any feedback about that or concerns or anything from last time? Okay. Okay, Route 40 rezoning update. What's the latest on that? Is there any movement on any of the rezoning for Route 40?
Mike, you want to give an update? I'm not exactly sure what this is referring to at this point.
I saw that on the agenda. I didn't know. So the rezoning has been not approved. The rezoning that we did on the north side, that was last year
Right.
at Springtown meeting. So it's as is. I don't know on the agenda. Do you have another item for the Route 40 subdivision that is going forward?
Maybe that's what the bullet is referring to,
Just, I think,
more information about anything going on with Route 40.
Yeah, the only thing tied with the Route 40 zoning piece that I know about that's potentially coming down the pike is the if they do it on the north side regarding the roadway, you know, for the developer, that if the road goes through. So that's something that will come down the pike, I would think. Now at this point, Evan, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably next spring or further down after the agreement of the roadway.
I think the immediacy is on the south side. There's a 12 duplex project currently in front of the planning board. Tomorrow evening, they will be likely finalizing or closing their public hearing and issuing a decision. That's for the south side on land that North Star Realty currently owns. And that's been due to some plan revisions that appears to be amenable to the neighborhood, acceptable. I'm not going to say supportive because I'm not sure that that was the preferred outcome for all involved. But it was certainly through the planning board process was a mutually productive public hearing process with revisions that were amenable to the abutters and neighborhood. On the north side, we're likely to see North Star in lieu of a agreement that advances the access road. At some point in the near term, we're likely to see North Star advance development under as-is zoning. So that likely it could be some duplexes, new duplexes along the frontage, and maybe an industrial type project on the rear property that they own. We haven't heard from them in quite some time. I think they're focused on the south side at this point, but they made it pretty clear that that as far as they were concerned, they wouldn't be able to wait for the town for an extended period of time.
Yeah, and
I have a
Joe, on
question.
the, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just wondering, with our new sewer capacity problem, does this whole project go forward at all?
Which project are you referring to?
The Route 40 development that you just talked about?
The
How would we
duplexes.
do that?
So it's a long and complicated discussion, but the duplexes, according to Steve Yonley, Assistant DPW Director, has indicated that based upon their analysis in the Weston and Sampson report, that has been, the flows have been allocated in the calculations, and based upon existing capacity that remains, that if that project moves forward in a timely manner with construction as well as connections to the source system, there would be adequate capacity for that. Anything discussed on the north side, depending on the scope and scale of the project and the time frame for when they advance that, there may or may not be capacity. There's certainly capacity, or likely to be capacity, for single family and two families. When I say an industrial project, it may end up being self-storage, warehouse distribution. Those types of industrial projects do not generate high water or wastewater flows. So I think for purposes of Route 40, sewer capacity is probably not going to be a major constraint, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And let's, and all the developments there, speaking on behalf of all the neighbors, I appreciate that, and they do too. Let's see. Okay, a lot of these things I know. I mean, this is such an oversight. I opened up again that calendar invite. It said Bill Gillette, but his email was not in there, so that's unfortunate. But so I would venture a guess, but I'm not too sure who else may know. But I know Bill may know more updates on the next item. But recent updates for business within Vinyl Square. Evan, you probably know a bunch of these too. But the hardware store, do you know of any development there? Or?
I'm not aware of any updates with the hardware store. I believe Lisa's been in contact with the property owner as well as the interested business owner. If you recall at our last meeting, that interested business owner did a 10-year meeting. I believe he was going to locate his engineering company as well as his wife's salon. I don't know if either of those moved forward.
Okay. What about the Parlee building? Any movement with the Parlee building?
That is sold. That's been confirmed. Beyond that, I'm not aware of any substantial changes. But I believe it has sold. And
the liquor store, I know there was potential buyer for the Vinyl Square craft beer and liquors that may be changing hands soon. That's in the process.
Yeah, the select board approved at the last meeting the transfer of the license, and so we expect to just waiting for the ABCC approval, and then the transaction would be complete. And then they mentioned the possibility, and again, it was only the word possibility, that they may explore a relocation to that vacant building that's next to Princeton Station. But again, that was in their words, preliminary examination. So things are moving forward, but again, it may take them several weeks to get through the ABCC for formal approval. Then they would close, and then, like you said, they're evaluating whether to remain at that location or seek the other location that would offer a little more space and more parking.
Yeah, so what their long-term plan is to take on the building next to the Princeton Station and totally redo that and potentially move there, which would not be overnight. So then we'd obviously then want to, see that backfilled into something else down the road whenever that happens. But you're talking at least a couple of years, I would think. I don't know. Okay. And Picken Insurance, anything that we know about Picken Insurance?
I wasn't aware that that one was on the radar screen, so I'd have to either circle with Bill or Lisa. I'm not exactly sure why that
Okay.
one's on the list.
Okay.
I know it's been on and off the market over the years, as well as some significant vacancy. But I don't know if there's anything that particularly that's new.
Okay. And speaking of Lisa, I want to give a special shout out to her because when this all started, I talked to her and she wanted to make sure we reached out to the businesses, and I did that. And she did say that the businesses were reaching out to her to be on her regular emails, and I would hope that they did because of the support she was reaching out through reopening and other grants or anything that they can do to help them get back open and successful. I just wanted to give her a shout out. I was hoping that she was gonna be able to join this, but I just wanted to make sure I said something because she's been a good support to this committee and to our businesses. So,
Before you move on to the next agenda item,
sure.
I'll provide a Glenview update. As some of you may be aware, that project at the last planning board meeting proposed and received the conceptual approval for demolition of the existing restaurant and redevelopment into 12 townhouses. So the planning board has voted via the COID overlay conceptual approval. That sets the stage for the applicant to be able to formally apply for their special permit process, which would trigger a butter notification within 300 feet, a public hearing, which would allow for public comment, questions for or against, things of that nature. Simultaneously, I believe a citizen's petition is being reviewed at tomorrow night's planning board meeting. That is proposing to rezone the Glenview site from general commercial to RC residential, which is single and two family zoning. So that will be presented by the proponent at tomorrow's planning board meeting. I think that'll be in the public for the first time and likely to receive some initial planning board feedback. Is it also going to the select board on Monday night?
Yeah, we're waiting to see what the planning board may do, Evan.
Okay.
It's sort of a last minute submission, as you noted.
Sure. No, I think the message here is that that's clearly not going to be a restaurant again. My understanding is that the proponent who's trying to advance the townhouse project appears to have bought that property. It's not under a PNS. So while unusual, it seems as though it's likely going to be converted to residential. The question that remains is, what's the scope and scale of that project moving forward. And the only other newsworthy item, which isn't necessarily a business but a property, is UMass West. And the update there is pretty short. The proponent has engaged with the Board of Selectmen over the last couple of months. They were and likely still are proposing a friendly 40B consisting of upwards of 400 units. At one time, they were contemplating some sort of partnership with the Chelmsford Housing Authority and their development arm called Choice. They're aware of the sewer capacity issue. They've been informed formally that any future redevelopment of that property of significant scope and scale would very likely need to accommodate their own treatment, as there wouldn't be capacity within the town sewer system. And most immediately, I believe it's been a couple, maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks since we've heard from them. During that time, I believe they've gone back to the drawing board and tried to sharpen their pencil to see if there is an economically viable project to be had.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else have any feedback or updates or questions about any business happenings in the square or in North at all? Okay.
I had heard that Rosie's was going out of business, just going to close down completely. But I don't know if that's true. It doesn't look it really. Anybody know anything about that?
Haven't heard.
Okay.
I thought she reopened recently.
She did.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I haven't had a chance to get down there, but I saw that they've also been promoting themselves on Facebook and
Yeah. Maybe I had
announcing that they
given wrong
reopened. But
information.
I heard the same thing, but I thought maybe that was when it was not open yet, and that was a while ago, and I had no real source. I forget how I heard that too, but it wasn't.
This was only last week that I heard it, so
No,
I haven't seen anything further on it.
well, hopefully they'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope so too.
See, the zoning just up for discussion for the road behind the municipal parking lot. Anything? I know Mike used to give us the updates there. I don't know who's taking the.
I did have a conversation with Bill, probably reached out to me on this a couple weeks ago. The status, as I understand it, is some time ago, an extended period of time ago, this was at the select board's agenda. I believe based upon their executive session update, they chose not to move forward based upon that specific executive session update. Bill's question to me was more along the lines as, well, what can be done to advance it? And as some of you may recall, Bill has floated this idea previously to the committee, suggesting that there's nothing preventing private entities from acquiring that property and then being more amenable to work with the town. I'm not suggesting that that's a financially viable scenario. I think Bill has his own thoughts, but that's likely what Bill's message would have been this evening. And again, this shouldn't be news to anyone on the committee. Bill has mentioned this as a potential secondary option, so to speak. So, I wouldn't say, I would still say that the project conceptually is viable. But my understanding is that it's a duplex and both property owners are out of the country fairly often.
Right.
And I believe they've, obviously goes without saying, they want fair market, if not a premium for it. And obviously from the town's perspective, on any property, you got the acquisition costs, and then you'd have the cost of having, design, permit, and construct whatever connection there would be. So, out of the gate, it's probably close to $1 million project. And that's obviously, as we know, that's a big number. So maybe Bill's secondary option may be able to involve a scenario where the town isn't purchasing property but acquiring an easement, and I think that's his thought process at this point.
Yeah, because I don't know if everybody remembers, but I know Mike McCall finally heard from him and out of the blue, and it's almost like he wanted to see if the town was willing to give him big bucks for the thing and make it go away, but that was not going to be the case. But I didn't know if there was any more developments that he was considering putting it up to see if anybody wanted to buy it. But that's the last I heard, was he just expected the town to pay him. And I didn't think that was going to happen either. So, okay. Okay, so when this all happened, Evan, with the facade grant update, we were actually in the middle of really finding out who was interested. Not everybody made it to the meeting, but people were reaching out to you directly. I had spoken to some people that were interested before all this. So obviously, when this affects businesses to a high degree, I don't know if we're planning at this point to revisit it next year in a couple months, or what we're doing with that.
Good timing. So, Joe, as you mentioned, essentially we held in early March, we held 2 public presentation sessions, one in North and one in Center. Both had limited attendance, but that was fine. And then COVID hit, so we essentially mothballed the program with the understanding that, trying to get the attention of a business owner and explain to them the program and have an upfront cost was not going to be well received. However, over the last probably 30 days, we've begun to receive inquiries from property owners who said, whatever happened to that program? So I've been working with Linda Prescott. If you recall, she's the chair of the Community Preservation Commission. She's agreed with me that we should restart that program. So if you know anybody who is remotely interested, either ask them to send me an email so that I can forward them the program manual. So essentially, I would refer to this as kind of a soft opening. It'll be on a rolling basis, and we'll see if there's anybody who is interested in submitting an application. And I think that's probably the most appropriate means to move this forward based upon the circumstances that we're in. The initial interest has been in Center for obvious reasons. There's a couple significant historic modification projects that are currently in front of the Historic District Commission and the Planning Board. So they're going to be investing money anyway. So I think for them, it makes particular interest. But as you recall, both North and Center have been earmarked for the same amount of money. So that's the plan moving forward. I will send you the information. Maybe we can get it posted on the committee's Facebook page to spread the word, and then on your weekend journeys, continue to spread the word. But that's our plan moving forward, is to kind of relaunch the program and accept applications on a rolling basis.
Thank you. Okay. And before we just open it up, I want to revisit what I mentioned at the beginning, that we have 2 committee openings on this committee. I don't know if anybody has anybody in mind. We can obviously spread the word and find out. We do need a business somebody to represent the business to backfill Ken, right?
Correct. He was designated as a business rep.
All right. And that may be tough because
I may have a chance to speak to somebody about that.
One of the businesses?
Well, the folks who own the consignment shop are really doing very, very well. And they're a very popular local business with me and a lot of other people. And so I can just see if Lori Jones would have any interest. She's a North Chelmsford resident up in your area, Joe.
Yeah.
She lives.
No, I know Lori. She's nice. She actually came to one of our meetings too.
Yes, right.
And because they had just opened, she was not really interested in becoming one of the subcommittees even.
Right.
But I agree. I think the fact that she showed up right away and appreciated the way we welcomed them with the ribbon cutting. That was a nice event. And the way they turned that around too and reopened that in a month and a half was commendable too. So
They're doing really great. I'll reach out to her and maybe
that's
another
good.
individual and see.
Okay.
Who's the
that I
other,
happen to know.
who's the other committee member? Was there a long-term vacancy?
No, Bill Vine.
Oh, Bill Vines decided not to re-up?
Right.
Okay. So he's a citizen at large, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and yeah, so those are the two spots. So if you know of anybody that's interested and
I might be able
all
to
of us,
round
let's ask around. Okay.
Mhm,
All right.
I'll do that.
And other than that, one last update for the park and playground. We've made concerted effort. In fact, Bill was at that meeting a year ago. We had a lot of people show at Varney showing interest in then formulating a reformulating or getting people more involved with the future playground down there because it's that end of life. The next couple of years, according to Steve Callahan, is going to need to be replaced. And we were going to have them back in the spring, and we all know what happened there. We did meet with let's see, we had a smaller meeting, and it was going to be just with Sheila and Kerry. And Kerry McNeil was the only one that was able to make the meeting with Steve and Colin Spence, and we continue to get great support with them. But it was just your yearly public safety meetings just to make sure we're all watching out for the park and the happenings. And at the time, the beach was actually closed because of social distancing, and the Board of Health closed down both beaches down. And it was just about getting ready. And there really hasn't been much happening here. It's been kind of quiet all around. It's been nice, but it's been, everybody's just going out for their walks, but nothing out of the ordinary. And just some of the updates with the playground and the courts. And I look forward to reconvening with the neighbors on that, and they know enough to reach out to me, and they have on certain other items. But that's the only thing. We really want to get that playground committee off the ground and running once we really start getting the flow of our regular meeting again. But at this point, we're obviously projecting for next year in 2021.
Hey, Joe, regarding the open vacancy for a business representation, I just asked Dan Rokas, the owner of Zesties, and he would like to be interested. He's interested in joining the committee.
Okay.
So I don't know what the process is on that. Do they have to go down to the clerk's office and apply for the position?
They can do it online and then send it to my office, and then we'll get them on the next agenda, the applicants.
There's a form on the
There's a form
website.
for a committee application, committee vacancy.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll make sure he does that.
I mean, either way too, because honestly, Janet, I would love you next time you're in the shop to talk to Lori about getting involved anyway.
They can
I'm
both
happy
be
to
on the
hear that
committee.
there's stuff they can. Okay. Yeah, well, because she's a resident too.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
If maybe they both are, I don't know. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so continue to reach out to both of them and keep me posted if you want to CC me on any communication or text or email or whatnot too. And we welcome them, obviously, that or anybody else, because we really want to keep the subcommittees going as well. Does anybody have anything else that they want to add? Is there something that we omitted from the agenda that we should have put on there?
I would just a couple items, kind of high level, general. I would say if the committee's able to encourage local businesses to either use their own Facebook page or join some of the Chelmsford more active Facebook pages to promote their business, that seems to be fairly effective. There's a number of businesses in Chelmsford that have joined and are very active on promoting themselves on Chelmsford Facebook pages. And it seems to be, like I said, it seems to be pretty effective for them. I think you can also encourage businesses to have a partnership with your Facebook page for cross promotion. And then my only other comment is your next meeting's likely in October, and I believe North, doesn't the community center usually do or the community usually does a Halloween parade or something?
Yeah.
The only reason I'm mentioning this is not because it's a committee business, but I've already heard rumblings, people asking, what's going to happen with Halloween. So I just throw that out there. That around the corner, a month out.
Yeah.
We haven't met with that committee yet, but Laura, I'll let you take that because you're
Yeah,
closest to them.
Evan, have you heard specifically about the North Chelmsford Parade and party, or just Halloween in general?
Yes.
Just Halloween in general.
That's it. Like I said,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to make an issue or.
Yeah, no, it's been rolling in my mind because normally I would have been well into the planning phases. So we do have to meet as the North Town Hall Committee and just make a final decision. I'm going to say my gut is it's not happening. I know that COS has already said they aren't, but I think for safety reasons, the town hall is not opened yet at this point. Due to safety concerns, I talked with the Board of the Health a while ago. I haven't talked to them recently, but actually all of the renters that we have at this point are not interested in starting for safety reasons. So I just don't know how the parade, there's a little feasibility in doing that and maintaining a distance, but I don't know how, I'm not comfortable. So I've got to bring it to our committee and see how they feel.
But you can only have 25 people in an indoor facility at one time anyway.
Oh, I don't think we could do the indoors at all because we don't have a party afterwards, but the parade is outside in the neighborhood. But I think it's a pretty large crowd usually, a couple hundred people, and ensuring the distance is maintained. I don't have any level of comfort about that. So I haven't talked with the committee. This is me speaking. And I also would want to speak with the Board of Health if we had any idea that we wanted to go forward. But my gut right now is we're not doing it. I don't think we can.
And Chief Spinney will be consulting with the Board of Health and then reporting to the Board of Selectmen on the 28th of this month regarding how, we're waiting for some state guidance. We know places like Salem have obviously canceled their activities and so forth, but I tend to agree with Laura. It looks doubtful.
Yeah, I saw that he was going to be reporting, so I was looking forward to hearing how that went because we don't want to be the party poopers. But when I saw that COS also said they weren't doing their events, I really feel that's the safest route to go, unfortunately. Maybe something could be done even we have a big neighborhood for Halloween, as you all know, but if there's a decision made that there's no trick-or-treating, maybe we do something with drive-by decorations, so there's a little something for the kids. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. But yeah, I'm sorry. I have a feeling we're not doing it.
I'd like to see if we can be creative or use the park or whatever. I agree with you, Laura, if we can do some sort of tradition, because this neighborhood has been such a sought after Halloween neighborhood. I mean, people outside the neighborhood come, not, even in town. So, especially since everybody seems to wear a mask on Halloween as well. So I think we get this covered, and I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, but
We have to
Gotta have a mask anyway,
Yep.
no matter what you do, except this. I almost put mine on tonight.
yeah. Anything else to add?
Grab my mask.
I do see that there are people that we welcome everybody that is here. We have some attendees not on the committee, and I appreciate them listening in and watching our meeting. And if you have anything that you want to bring to the table or mention about, anything going on in North Village or the Vinyl Square, please speak up, and we'd love to have your voice.
Thanks, Joe.
Brian.
Introduce myself.
Hey.
I'm a new resident. Moved here
Oh, nice.
over the
Welcome.
winter. Thanks. Yeah, so just listening in. Thanks for doing all the hard work.
Yeah. We're hardly working this past summer, but we're back at it.
I see there's 2 openings, so I think I might send something yours and Paul's way.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And in fact, Brian, for you, and I see there's somebody else that is on here too, but I'll give you my direct contact information, okay? It's Joe Tierney, and email is joseph.tierney number 4 at Gmail. And my cell phone is 508-641-8700.
So you should
So if you
spell
just want to
Tierney.
call and chat or, what's that?
You should spell Tierney.
Tierney is, so I don't get upset, Laura. Tierney is T-I-E-R-N-E-Y. First name Joe.
Got it.
So,
Thanks, Joe.
again, welcome to the neighborhood and welcome to the committee call.
Thanks very
Thank you,
much.
Brian. Anyone else? It's just nice to be reconvened in some fashion anyway. I can't wait till we get back to, you know, committee meetings as they were, but this is a step in the right direction.
That's great.
Right.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night, Joe.
Thank you. Take
Thank
care,
you.
everyone.
Good night.
Have a good
Thanks,
night.
goodbye.
Bye.